Hello and welcome to the Overly Animated Podcast, where we take animation seriously. We talk everything animation here, including Craig of the Creek, which we'll be getting into right now. I'm Dylan Hysen, and today I'm joined by Michelle Anderer.
Hello.
And Alex Bonilla.
Hey.
We're back talking Craig of the Creek for the first time in a while, because new episodes have dropped on the CN app and are airing on TV. Including the episodes Sugar Smugglers, Tea Timers Ball, Sleepover at JP's, and The Cardboard Identity. These in addition to previous episodes, which have randomly been on the app but not aired on TV, which we did not discuss in the past. Or no, they did air on TV, but Creek Daycare not until recently. And then, I didn't even know that episode was on the app. I watched it for the first time recently. Unfortunately, it's sad.
Me too.
That was really random, not to air it until now. And then The Haunted Dollhouse and Craig and the Kids Table were not previously covered. We will be talking about these episodes potentially within the context of topics such as how is Craig handling sequel episodes, which I think is an interesting topic for these bunch. Because you could argue each of the 4 episodes that just came out on the app are sequels to previous episodes, some more than others. And we see several flashbacks to previous episodes. So we've entered an era of Craig where we're getting flashbacks and stuff. So how's the show handling that? So just excited to be talking about Craig again here. We've had previous Craig podcasts from the beginning of the show at overlyanimated.com. Subscribe to our Craig feed on whatever podcatcher you use by searching Overly Animated Craig. And then we're also on YouTube at youtube.com/overlyanimated. So in general, Craig's back. I looked it up. Other than the 3 one-off things that aired, this is like the first episodes in 8 months, on Cartoon Network. So hopefully a lot more Craig coming soon based on that. And, but yeah, back in our lives. How does it feel for Craig to be back, and general feelings on Craig watching these episodes, Michelle?
It's good to have Craig back. I missed Craig. Honestly, it's been really nice, especially with other shows that we've been covering for a while ending, like Steven
like
and
everything.
KO. It's like, for a while, it was like all these shows were airing around the same time, and it was so nice to have so many at once. It just can be like, these are all so good in their own like respective ways. But we haven't had Craig for a while, so it's really nice that we're finally getting a lot of Craig, and I feel like it's safe to say that there's going to be a lot more. And I mean, these episodes are so good. I mean, I definitely have some standouts in this bunch that are my personal favorites, but I feel like we always talk about how Craig's always been like a solid show, and there's never been any boring episodes. But I feel like Craig, like kind of what you were saying, Dylan, I feel like it's at a point now in the legacy of the Craig of the Creek show where they're building on like their own old episodes to recontextualize or advance in some way that is either character driven or plot driven. And that's just really nice to see, because Craig's always been a show that's been very comforting and just like makes you feel good. But when they're able to do plot stuff here and there, or just like really dig into how people have grown and changed, or you learn new things about characters, it's a really nice surprise. Like, I like that too. It's not the main thing I go to the show for, but it's definitely nice to have it. It's like the sprinkles, on top of like the solidness of the show being the main cake. But yeah, I mean, I really like these episodes. Like, there's something that I really want to talk about, but I'll wait till Alex can give his thoughts too.
Okay, so you'll say it in between Alex's and my thoughts.
Oh, no, sorry. I told you give your thoughts.
So you're saying it'll be the headline, is whatever surprise topic you have.
Headline?
Okay.
I mean,
it'll come up at some point, yeah.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to go sprinkles on ice cream, but you went sprinkles on cake. That's interesting.
Yeah, that's true. I guess ice cream is more normal.
I'm so lost.
But, cake is more filling, like, sustainable thing, whereas ice cream is just like frozen cream, and like Craig is a more well-balanced.
Is this a hot take from Michelle? You think ice cream is just frozen cream?
I mean, it is, though. It's not a bad thing, but that is what it is.
Interesting. This is the type of topics we talk about on Craig, but I don't think these episodes invited anything besides candy talk. Maybe we can talk about candy.
And I guess choco rolls count as candy, but they are cakes, like, basically.
Yeah, that's more,
they're more like fluffy.
Yeah, okay, there are choco rolls, too. And the cocoa nuddles. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Alex, what do you think of Craig being back? What do you think of these episodes?
Well, it was funny because I haven't gone back to Craig in a long, long time. So when I finally sat down to watch these episodes, it was like, wow, I feel like I just didn't miss a step. Like it just right back into the rhythm. Like it's as good as I remember it being, despite not checking in for a while. So it felt good to come back to it. I'll say that I appreciate. I mean, a common theme we talk about on this podcast is how well it handles family topics, and I feel like that again stands out in a couple of these episodes, especially Sleepover at JP's and Creek Daycare, but and kids the kids table. So like, well, that theme continuing to be hit pretty well. Like again, it's like they've shown to be solid in the past, and they're still being very earnest about it now, and it still feels good to watch that. So all in all, I think this was another solid batch of episodes. Cardboard Identity, which we'll talk about, is interesting for a variety of reasons. I wouldn't say it's necessarily my favorite, but I think that's the one that has the most to talk about in terms of like what the show is doing. So yeah, but in general, I think that this was just like another good batch of episodes. It hits the stuff that it's good at doing. Gives our main characters focus again. Like it's nice to have a JP centric episode again. I feel like we haven't had that in a while. Yeah. And spreading the ball around to each of the mains felt good in this batch.
Yeah. It's a good point about a diverse crew of characters focused on. We haven't had any episodes in a while, so I don't remember if there was a JP. That sounds right, though. that sounds right. Yeah, the Craig episodes came out, and it's like, oh, there's Craig episodes on the app, and I didn't immediately go to watch them, which I'm now embarrassed about because I feel like we're out of the loop for too long that I forgot that I would react a lot to these. I mean, this episode, Sponge specifically, I feel like has things that feel meant for me. Specifically the cardboard episode, which I am.
Yeah.
You guys are really going into the cardboard episode. I need to hear your thoughts about that.
Well, if we could flash back 2 years on the podcast, I would talk. You would know how much I ship Carter and Zoe. And
not for that.
No, that cannot be the first thing we talk about.
I'm not going to get. I'm just saying I'm the number one Carter and Zoe shipper in the world, and we got the ship episode again. We got the follow up. I'm so happy. It was amazing. And Sugar Smugglers, one of my other favorite parts besides that one episode from 2 years ago is Sean and Raj and the Honeysuckle Rangers.
That's the real ship right there.
Yeah, and they're like the most like romantic in this episode that they've ever been, and it's incredible.
They blush and hug and talk about love, and it's pretty obvious that they really like each other.
Yes. And was in love with that. That whole episode's great. Just every episode's good. I mean, Sleepover at JP's, it's like, I remember us being confused during that one episode about if that was JP's sister or mom. And, I'm like, how much are we following up on the podcast? But I feel like maybe that's the intent of that Urge episode, or maybe we're just clarifying now. And Tea Timer's Ball is an exciting episode as well. And then Creek Daycare is really exciting. And then of course, like Haunted, we did talk about Haunted Dollhouse on our Queer Rep podcast last year. So,
tiny bit, but for how like funny and scary that episode ended up being, I'm like shocked we didn't talk about it more. It's one of my top favorites. It was such a good episode. Nice.
Yeah, well, it's because it was the Halloween episode and they didn't air any other episodes, and they did the same thing with the Thanksgiving episode. So it's like there wasn't like a group to talk about. That's why we didn't do any podcasts. But yeah, all of these episodes are good and exciting, and just a lot of reasons to be excited about Craig, I think. We can start getting into this topic of sequels, and then if other surprise topics come up from certain people, then we can get into that as well. But I was struck by, I mean, it wasn't my immediate thought, but then once I was like, oh, what are we gonna, because we're trying to like not do recaps specifically anymore, we're trying to slant it around discussions. So it immediately came to me that like, there's a lot of like sequels here because there's at least 2 flashbacks, I think, in this bunch, which is like a very clear sign that we're following up on previous episodes. Cardboard Identity, the second episode featuring these characters, and it features a flashback to the first, the Future's Cardboard episode. Very clear sequel. Sugar Smugglers, I think, very much building off of The Other Side and the Honeysuckle Rangers episode. And then even the other two, you could argue, are episodes. It's Tea Timer's Ball is shockingly referential to Ace of Squares, which is an episode I don't remember that much, but yeah. I didn't expect.
I forgot that kid. I forgot Tomas too. I was like, wait, we're supposed to know him, but yeah,
Toman, and then also like the Aaron kid is from that episode. Apparently, I don't remember him.
I don't remember him at all.
From that episode.
Just like Kelsey, I don't remember him.
It was an accurate reaction from Kelsey.
Yeah.
So yeah, Michelle, like, we were talking about this in the intro, but like, what is it exciting for you that the show is now like building off of a lot of these initial episodes we got?
Yeah, because then it begs the question, well, like, if this all is important, I guess anything technically could come back and play a bigger role later. So it gives you more intention to, like, watch, like, be feeling like, again, because, like, this isn't always, like, the most plot-heavy show, but if something like Cardboard Identity could come back, it's like, oh, okay, well, then, like, who knows? All these seemingly one-off characters could, like, have more of a through line to the main plot, maybe even. So it makes it a more engaging watch, I'd say, knowing that anything could be relevant later on.
Yeah, I like that slant. I mean, I guess the other side would be like, we're doing more follow-up. It's like how, like, oh, there's more sequel movies, not original movies. Like, Alex, is that in play at all? Like, any part of you would rather see more original characters than following up on characters?
I mean, we've been begging for Dory to Helen too on this podcast since that episode.
That's the one
like,
sequel we haven't gotten, right?
I think that would be hypocritical to slam sequels when we've been asking for that one for a while. But I will say, I find it interesting that we're going back to all this stuff because it's good in that it fleshes out the world, like the characters that we've seen in one episode a while ago, they're not totally forgotten. It's like, oh, well, like, life continues, and like we can check in on them and like see if stuff has changed or interaction has changed based on what's happened and all. So like I enjoy that. I would hesitate to say like this actually means plots or anything, like especially with like Sugar Smugglers. Like, it's nice that we're checking in on the other side of the creek, but I'm still like tempering my expectations in terms of like how important, quote unquote, like it is to like know what's going on that side. They're just using it as a background for a fun episode in which Craig sneaks over to the other side, and we like build on characters we know, but just keeping the story to one episode as opposed to like a 4-episode arc or whatever. So like I think that it's a good thing that they're doing these sequel episodes to make sure that there aren't one-off characters. But at the same time, I also appreciate that it's still, even though they're sequels, but at the same time they still feel like they stand on their own and they're not really connecting to an overall story.
That's interesting. So you're seeing so I was seeing a distinction between the Sugar Smugglers, which I think is like the plot episode. Like I feel like we've identified the Under the Overpass plot line of episodes, going from Under the Overpass, the other side, Honeysuckle Rangers episodes. Now Sugar Smugglers is kind of like the main plot of the show, but maybe based on what you're saying, you could argue that's just like its own line of sequel episodes, just like anything else is here.
Yeah, and like the thing is, plot, especially for a show like Craig, which is like so focused on slice of life, plot line is very loose. Where like we can check in on this and then come back to it like after like 10 or 12 episodes, and it's still technically the same plot line, but like compared to other shows, it's not as substantial of a plot. But that's good because that way you can like let these little small moments between humans breathe rather than like needing to remember what happened in the other side to understand Sugar Smugglers, right? Like you can watch Sugar Smugglers on its own and without having watched the other side, and you can get pretty much all of it just based on the content they're providing in there. So like in that's kind of the distinction I'm making, that they work as standalones even though like they have like an overall connection to like the long-term story, but this show isn't really about story. So like I'm not expecting this to be touched on again until like maybe 10 episodes later, and that's fine because that's just the kind of show this is.
Yeah, so you're saying you appreciate that the show hasn't gone too much more plotty than before, even though we are continuing this one maybe more obvious plot arc, more like a sequel chain that has followed up on itself more than these other ones. It's still kept the essence of what Craig is, that it's which is this very non-serialized, very fun character-focused show. Michelle, do you agree with that?
I mean, I really like that because as Alex was saying that, it made me realize that if Craig is gonna just be very cognizant of the fact that it is mostly centered on slice of life, and that if it's gonna have plot, it is gonna take a while to talk about it, and it's not a priority. That would be a change, just because like I feel like a lot of shows we've been watching have started off being mostly slice of life, but then the plot starts to trickle in somewhere around the like finale of the first season, and then every season after that progressively has more plot to the forefront of the show, to a point where like if the show survives like 4 to 6 seasons, it becomes a lot more plot heavy. And I'm not sure if that's just like because there are more shows now that are more interested in like having like action and adventure aspects, or if like as the show goes along, it's like, well, like it makes natural progressive sense for these characters to be taking on more in like a plot related way. But if Craig decides as a show not to do that, I think that would be pretty interesting, because that's like kind of the opposite of most of the other shows we watch. Like I'd say even Summer Camp Island seems to be kind of more invested in the plot as it's been going along. So I'd be excited for that, honestly. Like as much as I like the plot, again, like it's not the thing I super go to this show for. And if we're in season like 5 of Craig and we still like don't have a resolution between the king on one side and Craig on the other, like I think that kind of be fine with me. Because that probably means we'd be focusing a lot more on like interpersonal relationships with the trio and stuff, and like maybe them tackling like growing up and stuff and moving up grade levels, and that would be kind of a nice change, right? Because that's like some real life stakes right there. It's a lot less outlandish. It's like it's realism.
We do we do kind of get a time period with a few months in Cardboard. It's like, oh, it's been a few. Really, it has. Yeah. Oh, interesting. Yeah, you kind of outlined the model a lot of Cartoon Network shows follow, and a lot of Disney shows too, starting off extremely non-serialized and then slowly picking up the serialization. It can go from anything from like Star vs. Force of Evil, which goes from like not serialized to like incredibly serialized. To I think Summer Camp Island, from what we've seen so far, has not picked up the plot to a large extent so far.
But you can see it there, and you can feel that like there's like so much to learn. There's like
mysteries in that show.
Yeah. I feel like we know the big mystery here, unless there's more. I mean,
this show doesn't have like the hidden information. That's a good point. And Steven Universe was like a mystery like that. There's a lot of hidden information early on. Yeah. So I mean, and I think like. And, you know, like, I mean, there's other Cartoon Network shows. I don't know, like, OK Ko picked up the plot, right? Seems like Victor and Valentino is going to be doing the same thing, right? Like, so, I never saw this as Craig's model, you know, like, I guess I always assumed it would stay a slice of life show because it was just so successful at that. Whereas other shows, it feels like they're getting their bearings. Craig never really felt like it was getting
exactly. Yeah, we've talked about that a lot. That it always felt like it knew exactly what it was from the get-go, which is so refreshing. And I mean, that's true. I mean, maybe it's going to be more in line with the Teen Titans Go or a We Bare Bears, and there's nothing wrong with that. So it's just
we getting the baby spinoff of Craig? No,
no, please, adult spinoff.
Jessica, could you imagine a Jessica spinoff?
Adult
That's
spinoff.
What the world wants and needs.
Is it? No, but like I think it seems it's like Craig has more plot stuff now because we have like picked up the frequency of the Under the Overpass plot line. Kind of, but it's still, you're right. It's still only every few episodes, and the other episodes are not affected like that. So that's not really serialization because there's no bearing on anything except for these other episodes that I mean, it is serialization to a certain extent, but it's not like we're not seeing the effects of Sugar Smugglers in any of these other episodes that we're talking about.
Not at all.
Even though Sugar Smugglers is like hinting at this potential rebellion within the king's domain that we're getting.
Exactly right. Like the whole point of like the secret candy like pub or whatever. No, it's not a pub.
Speakeasy.
Yeah, speakeasy. Like it implies that there are other kids that are also like not happy with the system and want to like hear Raja's song about making fun of the king, like the King Smells song, which implies that if enough of those kids get together, they're gonna want to break away from the king. If they go to Craig's side of the creek, the king is gonna find out, and they're gonna like it. I don't know, because like again, like I can't imagine like an all-out war of the Creek kids on two sides, but like maybe eventually we would lead there. I don't know. That'd be a lot of plot though. Like where else could it go?
It'd be a big flashlight tag war.
That's true.
Yeah, flashlight tag seemed plotty. I don't know. It was more just it was intense, I guess.
It was intense.
I have to say, with these plot episodes, including The Other Side, which you could argue is one of the best episodes of the show, and Sugar Smugglers is really good. I think they're good and I enjoy them, but there's a level of me, not like uncomfortability, but like it's almost like I'd rather be watching the other type of Craig episodes sometimes when I'm watching these episodes. Like this is a very anti-Dylan opinion, but I am much more comfortable in this show with the non-plot episodes. Like I think those are what I'm used to and what is so good about the show. So I think like the show hasn't gotten me to a point where I'm as accepting of those episodes. Not that I am eager for them and I do like watching them, but I think like we're not like at a point where those are the norm or anything yet. So it's more, it's still very different. I feel like when we get these type of episodes.
I want to say also like these plot, like the Overpass episodes tend to be a little bit more action oriented than like your usual Craig episodes. Like you get more of like the kid on kid fighting, like Kelsey like getting to whip out her sword again is cool and all. But like at the same time, like I think we'd agree like Craig of the Creek's biggest strength is like how the characters interact with each other, like in terms of like talking out their feelings or like coming to an agreement within the group and stuff. So when it does these plot episodes with people outside of the main group and we get it into like these more action-packed segments, like it's fun and all, and I think that they do it sparingly enough that it doesn't get tiring. Like you said, like they're not quite the same type of episodes compared to like the normal slice of life we get, but I think that they save it enough so that it still feels good when those episodes happen. But I'd agree that if that became the norm, then this would be a different kind of show, right? Like it'd be one that has to put a little bit more focus on the friction as opposed to them coming together.
Yeah, I think their grittier feeling maybe is a good way.
It's the like you're not used to being afraid
the
for your
music
characters.
is different.
Yeah, it's more menacing. It feels like a real danger. You're not used to feeling like there's a danger in a Craig episode. So I feel like that's part of what I feel, I guess, that I can relate to with you, Dylan. Yeah. It is like different tonally.
Different tone. Yeah, too sensitive for these gritty Craig.
By the way, I'd say the cardboard identity falls into this.
They also,
too.
I think I would say that's like a third tone. Like it is more towards the gritty, but it's like it's got its own type of tone.
Ultimate discomfort and fear.
No.
That's what
cardboard
is.
Episodes are the best. Like ridiculousness with the incredible pretending. Like that's good. That's the
That's true.
I'm just I was cracking up through that entire episode. But no, and the action. Yeah. So I mean, of note is that Sugar Smugglers features 10 seconds of the most fluid action we've seen from Craig, for sure.
Right, it's not even that long, but like it feels like it has a big effect on the episode.
Yeah, we had Spencer Wan as a guest animator for those Cartoon Network shows are doing this much more, bringing in like outside people, but also focusing their energies on very short sections of episodes for effect. Like Change Your Mind, Steven Universe. There's like that one Infinity Train thing in the finale with like the crazy like frame rate. And I feel like this scene is Craig's version of that. Like it's much more subdued, but it's like that's like a crazy 10 seconds for Craig. Like whoa! And I thought it was really fun.
It was really fun.
Yeah, and I think like that's like I mean, Sugar Smugglers features that and like a musical number. Mm-hmm. Just a pretty jam packed kind of eventful episode for Craig. But I guess like back to the sequel topic, because we're kind of combining the plot and sequel, which I think is good. It makes sense. And it's for the episodes that aren't in that Overpass arc. I'm excited following up on episodes, specifically the cardboard one for sure. I mean,
Okay, so can we talk
let's
about
talk about it.
Can
Come
we
on.
talk about the choice to follow up on this cardboard arc?
Yes,
It's like,
so-
it feels so separate from, I mean, like Tea Timer's Ball, like, you know, it involves characters that we see every so often. Sleepover at JP is obviously a family follow-up. The cardboard identity is like this whole other city that like, it feels on, I mean, it's like the other side arc in terms of like it involving a separate part of the creek entirely that we don't really interact with. The cardboard identity is like that, but at the same time, it only it's like its main thing is like this one kid who's jealous that the girl is hanging out with other kids.
Oh my god. It's so true. Like Alex and me, we feel the same clearly because it's like Carter's probably the number one kid. If there had to be no one I ever saw in the show again, it would be him.
Okay, how
because
dare
his whole motivation is that, and it doesn't get any better.
Okay. So,
like I want to say it's ambitious that we're gonna keep following on this, and I think that the episode itself is a good job. I just think it's wild that this is one of the things we're following.
Okay, well let me say this is, I think, the Futures Cardboard was episode 14. That was one of the very few Craig episodes with no follow up. This is episode 65. It had been a long time since so like I think
they've been holding back till now to give us the
well, I think it's obvious that episode is not as inviting of a sequel as you have to specifically do a sequel. Most episodes it's like, okay, you'll do an episode with that involves stacks. It's kind of a follow up to the last episode. I'd say very few Craig episodes have zero follow up. I think Doorway to Helen is one of and Kid from 2020, which are like the two best, Kid from 30, which are the two best episodes, are like the only other two examples maybe. Or of any episodes that potentially invite follow up. So like this, it's not like this is like, oh, they're so eager to follow up on the cardboard episode. Like it's like, they're like, okay, we can get back to this now, you know?
It's been 60 episodes.
Yeah. And, that episode was so different from anything else Craig was doing when it started, when it aired. And, I didn't think it was the best episode, but I was so drawn to it. And I kept talking about it. And I was so excited to see everyone back. And not only is this like following up on that, it's like 10 times the extraness of that original episode. Like this episode is the most extra. Carter is the most dramatic character, and he's so ridiculous and stupid, and he just all this effort he goes through to build the cardboard bunker, and he's just standing there in the computer
all
like
the
waiting for them.
Yeah, him behind
the logs of him is the best.
It is. No, it is really amazing. I kept like waiting for him to blink while they'd like look away from him and talk to each other, and he never broke character, and that freaks me out. But that is some dedication.
The one time you see him like sniffling in the background or something, yeah. Like I think I compare this to Kid from 3030, which also is like has crazy stuff happening, but in that episode there's no, I think, oh no, there's it's similar. There are signs that that's also pretend, right? Like so it's like there's we're role playing kind of intently here. And so I think maybe that's a good comparison. The tone here is very dramatic.
It's like horror sci-fi down in that bunker of cardboard. It's so unsettling, and it's dark and creepy, and he sealed it up with duct tape, and they went in anyway, and he's everywhere. He's behind all the screens, and then he breaks out of it.
Think about this.
To the show's credit, making it that kind of tone when it really is just cardboard and a kid just like acting it out. But they buy into their system so well that like that tone works out.
I mean, it does.
So here's the
Dollhouse. Like a dollhouse shouldn't be scary, but they made it scary.
That's a good one too. The tone is like simultaneously like dramatic and intense, and also just ridiculous, and I love that. But think about from Carter's going through all these efforts to entertain his friends. Like this is like Craig is so into this. This is such great role play for him. Like and clearly Zoe's into this to a certain extent too. I don't think she wants this all the time. I think she wants to just be in the city with Carter. But like it's like this intense like escape room he sets up. Not like it is like that level of detail, you know. He wants to be like he's totally gonna like make a movie or something later or something, right? Like this is
He could do that.
Yeah, and artistically, the episode's amazing with all the cardboard and stuff. So much detail needs to go into everything in the background. But just the dramaticness, and we see the backstory to Carter and Zozo.
Okay, the way you just said the backstory was filled with way too much delight for my comfort level.
I am so delighted, Michelle. Look, this is the most. They're those two have the most charged energy between them, and
I mean, they did, but now it's charged in a bad way.
Well, that's part of the appeal, you know. It's like it's reading.
No.
It's reading like dramatic fan fiction is what this is, right? Like it's like here's how they met, and and then we get the moment when it's like I'm Zozo, and it breaks through to his emotional core behind he became the cardboard, and they love this. The two like they love this pretend they're like, and they have that whole moment. It's all like so incredibly dramatic, and then he's like, my memory is lost, and he's like lurking in the background for the next appearance, and it totally leaves open future cardboard episodes, which is all I want to see now.
It's just in his underwear, like, oh, this is awkward. I need to go.
Yeah, I want to say two things about that. So Carter, like, I did really appreciate the backstory. I will agree. Like in the beginning, when they're getting to know each other in the cardboard house, and she's like, "Oh, it was like so nice in there," and like they come up with the nickname because she like sneezed while saying her name, which is very cute. Problem is he got really jealous because they started having more friends in the cardboard place, and plus like she even says to him at one point when he's like, oh, like I got so embarrassed about like how I like, you know, trashed your city that I didn't know how to come back, so I just became a cardboard. And she's like, yo, all you had to do was like help us rebuild it. And he still doesn't do that. Now his memory's wiped, so it's like a cop-out. And I'll say, okay, the very last part of that episode, he's just standing in the background watching the cardboard city, and there's this menacing like hum over that. Is like, is he gonna wreck it again? It's not.
Oh, he's gonna do something else crazy.
So scary.
Look, Michelle, it's definitely problematic. Like, here's the comparison. Here's what I want to compare it to help understand the appeal. This is like Catradora. Like, this is Carter is Catra. He's like this really problematic fave that you love, and it's like, oh, this is an unhealthy relationship, but I'm feeling it anyway. You know, that's what it's like.
I mean, I guess that would work better if the flashback wasn't from Zoe's perspective, though, because it just makes me feel like Carter's not really trying to live his best life now.
No, he's not trying to. He's
frustrated with him.
He's so dramatic. No, relish the drama. That's what I would say. That's how you enjoy these episodes.
Well, I guess it's also interesting because, like, aside from this relationship, it's not like Craig of the Creek has that many like unwholesome relationships. I mean, like even to the point where like Jason, like he's had his like bright moments. The tea timers, like this recent episode, did an okay job, like trying to make them more normal or like closer to normal kids. So like it's just an interesting contrast that makes Carter stand out, because like otherwise this creek is like full of mostly nice kids.
Oh my gosh, that's so true. Well, maybe that's why it just sticks out so much to me. Like Carter, I'll never forget.
Yeah. And lastly, I do think this episode, and you might not agree, I think this episode does a good job of showing their affection for each other. And also that everything's like them playing pretends. Like I think it like does beneath the surface show the innocence and the appeal, I guess, of like what's happening. You know, like I don't think we get caught up in the problematicness of what's going on.
I feel like, okay, this is the thing though. There have been two moments now in this show where I'm genuinely like, are there like, is this all pretend? There's that moment in that episode when they have to use the stove and none of them will turn it on because they're told they're not allowed to. And then it just turns on by itself, which seems to imply ghosts. And then the haunted dollhouse, that was a legit ghost. Like, there's no explanation for that at the end. That was just a straight up kid ghost. So if that's true, like, maybe that kid did go to the future in that up there episode. Like, how do we know anymore?
The show's working on Michelle.
This is
I don't know. really pretend anymore. Maybe it is real.
This is a topic we discussed. There's one set of episodes where it's like one episode we saw Craig. I mean, it's hard to remember because it was a while ago. One episode in the set of episodes, the witches like tricked Craig, and he thought this sickness was real, but we knew it was. Which, by the way, relevant. But we knew it was. Oh, by the way, Craig of the Creek is like the kids this show is the most affected by the coronavirus because the whole Creek activities are shut down right now. It's really sad. Like, don't think about it. Okay, back to the point. So we saw Craig thought it was real, but we saw the truth. And then there's other episodes, I think like Cardboard, like the Cardboard episodes, which is like, we know that they're playing pretend. We know everything is pretend. They're making it obvious. Kid from 3030, if you watch again, like I remember now that like, it's like, press play. Like we see past the facade. And then there are a few episodes where we only see from Craig's perspective and there's no way to distinguish if it's true or not from the audience.
How could that not have been a ghost boy with a dollhouse? How could that not have been a ghost?
Yeah, I think I didn't rewatch that recently, but yeah, I think that was an episode that didn't probably break the veil. But the stove, by the way, is still Michelle. Like it's just a stove that turns on.
That was a ghost.
Michelle,
that was a ghost.
I can't believe you're rehashing one of the most Michelle moments of the podcast.
Two ghosts so far.
Yeah, no, that was one ghost so far. Maybe that's the sequel to the stove ghost. Yeah, that's what you're saying, right?
I don't think the stove ghost has the dollhouse. It's a separate.
You say two different ghosts. Michelle's very sure. Okay.
I don't even remember the stove that we're talking about.
I only remember because I remember Michelle thinking that it was a ghost. Yeah,
there's a way to explain that.
Okay, it's a stove that turns on its own. That's what it is. Okay. Admittedly, I've not experienced this self-automated stove, so
exactly. No one has a budget for that because it's not real yet.
Right? Maybe it's future technology. Okay, but yeah, it is an interesting thing to track. I don't think any of other than the Dollhouse, nothing here was completely immersive. The Cardboard episodes are fun because I think their appeal, like this episode, I think is largely relied on it being not fully immersive because we see that this is a show that Carter's putting on. That's like a large part of the fun of the episode. Yeah.
Yeah. I wish I could be more chill on Carter. I mean, I wish I could see him through your eyes as the beloved Catra of the Craig universe, but I'm not there yet.
I hate this so much.
I know, I hate it too.
Look, I just had to make you guys more uncomfortable by making that comparison, okay? These episodes will always be controversial if they continue them. So I think like totally we will have opposite opinions on these. It makes. I think that's like the intent. But like, yeah, I don't think they should do like a Cardboard episode 15 episodes from now. I think like end of season 3 we can do this again. You know, like it's like you're right. It's so different from everything. It's really intense. Like let's do that. I've not seen the Bourne movies. Were we going for a Bourne specific parody here, or just like the memory loss?
Well, I think it's just the memory loss part. Okay. Turns into a cyborg. Somebody operates on him. I feel like that's an action movie.
I don't think he's a cyborg in the Bourne movies, but I've not seen them. But I don't think that's what that is. Maybe it's true. Okay, well, that's what we'll watch next. I
refuse.
Michelle, do you want to bring up your mystery topic? I want to talk about the next thing I want to talk about is the progressive elements of the show.
Oh, wow. But what about the 2 episodes?
I mean, well, we're talking topics. We're talking topics, so we'll hit on the other episodes through that. Okay. But yeah, so I think I want to talk, another takeaway I had from these episodes is the earnestness of Craig of the Creek. So like, I felt this from Tea Timers Ball, also in general, but I feel like shows nowadays, it's changing, but especially 5 to 10 years ago, are really afraid to be earnest. Everything is really cynical, and I do mean kids shows. Like, I think the timeline is like shows used to have a character come on at the end of that episode and say the moral of the show. And then they're like, oh, this is stupid. We're going to write better episodes. And then that kind of turns into them not doing it, turns into a lot of episodes ending cynically with like something bad happens. Like, it's not like someone dies, but it's like, oh, that person got hurt. Like ironic ending.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of that. And honestly, I got pretty tired of that. And now Craig, I feel like Craig is like the backlash to that, which is like, let's be earnest. Like, Tea Timers Ball features Maney giving Kelsey a speech on the moral of the episode, and that's wonderful.
Okay. Yeah, that actually was the thing I wanted to talk about.
Okay.
This left such an impression on me because it ended up being surprisingly such a big part of the episode, because I feel like this really was more of a Kelsey episode than a Craig episode. Like, he's the one with the B plot, thinking about all these conspiracies against him going on, which was honestly a great side of Craig we don't normally see in his personality, but that was really good. But like, okay, so I wrote down like a lot of notes about this because I was like, oh, this is so good. So I think we can all agree that public displays of affection / like proposals.
Yeah.
Like
I thought a lot about public proposals.
It's
with this
like
episode,
it's always gonna come off as manipulative, even if it's not intended to. And I feel like Kelsey, she just like the way she talks about it is so perfect at laying out why. Because she's like, everyone was like watching us. It would have been embarrassing for him if I said no. But like the worst thing is that like it would have made her look like the bad person in that situation. So she felt really locked into it. Like there was no way to let him down gracefully when it's like so public. Like if you're gonna ask someone something like that, don't make it public. Like it's always gonna pressure them, even if like you don't think it is. And I love the fact that like Minnie, she's so attentive to Kelsey being uncomfortable in this episode. Like she notices she sat on the rock. She immediately goes over and asks her about the dance, which seems like a kind of like interesting insight for her to have. And it's just like such a supportive moment. Like Minnie's such a supportive friend. And I also like, it made me realize like there is like somewhat of a gendered aspect to the situation, because like you see like Minnie be so concerned and checking on Kelsey, but JP doesn't really see a problem at first. Cause like JP's response is like, oh, like it might not be so bad. Like Aaron seems nice. And then maybe like immediately sets them straight. And she's like, just because someone's nice doesn't mean you connect to them on a romantic level. And I think that was just such a, like, that's such a good point. And it's like on a level that's like obvious, but also maybe it's not obvious to everyone, which is why it's nice to have that be a focus of the episode, because like, I feel like that's the broad kind of moral of the episode, but like the more like, maybe like subtle message is like you shouldn't always value someone else feeling bad more than your own personal comfort if you have to do something. And I think even like on that topic, like Minnie later says, like, you don't like, I know you want to be nice, like here in this situation, but your feelings are important too, which again is just like this crazy insight Minnie has. But I love it so much because like the fact that the episode spends so much time focusing on Kelsey's feelings and discomfort in that situation and how hard it is to navigate it. Like, it's so relatable. And I mean, it's interesting because like when she finally does like tell Aaron that, like she just kind of screaming at him, but Kelsey screams a lot all the time anyway. So like in a way, it was kind of in character for her to be like, I don't like you. And she like talks about why she was like, you know, like it was so public. I didn't want to hurt your feelings. I tried to like give you a hint. Like when I said my dress got pooped on that I couldn't go and you didn't take the hint. So then I just felt stuck with it. And like she turns him down. He accepts it. And this is kind of nicely mirrored with JP and Minnie, because there's a point where like when the slow dance comes on, JP's like, do you want to dance? And May's kind of like, like I don't really like feel like it. And JP like very much is like, okay, that's fine. And I think like that's, again, like that's some really nice positive reinforcement to see on two sides, because like, again, you should, you know, if you don't want to do something or be with someone, that's your right. And no one should, you know, pressure you into doing that because it's what they want, because their feelings aren't more important than yours. And again, like this, like all seems obvious, but at the same time, like this is really important for children to understand, because if you get in the habit of just like going along with what someone else wants because you feel like you can't say no, or that your feelings don't matter as much as theirs, like that could be really dangerous when you're older. And I mean, not to get dark, but like there are a lot of like scary situations out there where like someone could get really mad if you turn them down or don't do what they want because they feel like it should be their right, or that they do deserve that, even if you don't want it. So just having Kelsey be able to like understand her feelings, have that be something that's supported by Maney, and having her and Maney like being able to turn down respective guys for different reasons and have that be acknowledged and accepted positively with no repercussions is like absolutely what I want to see modeled more. And it just like, it was so intentional, but like the way they framed a lot of the language and dialogue was like so natural, but also informative. Like it didn't feel like someone was hand holding you through like, all right, like we're going to talk about, you know, consent and comfort and, you know, choices. Like that's really what they were doing the whole time. So I don't know, it's just like a masterclass of like, if you're going to talk about this stuff, like this is absolutely the way to do it. Like it felt so natural and just like, there were so many moments where I was just like, oh my gosh, yes, Maney, like, yes, like you understand, this is so, I don't know how old you are, but this is amazing insight you have.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, that's all. No, so that was great. I completely agree with all of that. I think, I agree with the last part. Like, I think the show did a great job of like clearly communicating what it was trying to say in the natural context of the characters talking. And it did so in a way which a lot of, honestly, like men usually are like, you shouldn't write like this. Like you shouldn't have characters write like saying like advice and morals, like specifically progressive morals. And that's kind of become like the de facto on how good writing is. And I really think that's stupid and wrong.
Yeah. Like again, like it's spelling something out so that somebody who doesn't understand can learn from that. That's the whole point.
I think people talk like that in real life. Like I don't think it's bad writing. Like Maney, that conversation between Maney and Kelsey was realistic, I think.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like that's why it's so impressive because it feels so natural. But then you like look at what those actual words are, and it's like, yo, that's like so important though, even though it was so clearly and effortlessly expressed. Yeah. You know what I mean?
A thing I considered while Dylan was talking earlier about like the earnestness of this show and like being not as cynical as previous shows about it, like Maney in this show, like in previous episodes, like she's very into the horse shtick, and like even in the beginning of this episode, like she does the trampling thing. But when it's time to be serious about it, she's able to drop it and like talk seriously to Kelsey about it. I feel like in a different show, like you try to make that more jokey, like using horse metaphors or something, but like Kelsey somehow gets it because it's Maney, you know. But like they treat it with the seriousness it deserves. But Maney talks like a normal person, at least in that segment, and it doesn't feel off because like it is a topic that requires a little bit more nuance than like other stuff that goes on in the rest of the show. So like I appreciated that little detail that like that's kind of the first time we see Maney drop her shtick for a little bit, and it's for a reasonable cause there, and one that I think reflects the earnestness with which the show handles morals.
Yeah, you're right. Another show totally would have done the horse. She's talking like a horse still. Yeah.
I will say she does bring the horse stuff back, but it's when she's trying to explain like the situation to JP, because she's like, when she says like, just because you don't, just because someone's nice to you, you don't have romantic feelings, and JP's like, what does that mean? She's like, when I look at you, like you're nice, but you're like, you also make my heart race like 1,000 horses on like the beach or something. But I think like also that's really nice because like this isn't trying to condemn anyone. It's just like as much as JP doesn't understand the problem until she explains it to him, he's immediately then like, oh, Kelsey, and to be clear, like this guy does not do that for you. Like, no. And then JP does get it.
Yeah.
JP and Maney are such a pure couple.
Yeah, this episode probably the most JP Maney episode as well.
Oh yeah.
There are a lot of them, but reacting more to what Michelle said, I think this is and it was said very clearly, and I think it's something that is good for young people here. It's something good for a lot of people to hear because public proposals are kind of still the default in our society. So like this episode is like, hey, that's probably not a good idea. And also just more generally, like not pressuring someone like that, which is clearly explained by the episode, and I think that's kind of the biggest lesson being taken away, and one that's stated very clearly, but also a lot of what Michelle was talking about of not putting someone else's feelings above what you want. I think that's something that goes hand in hand with that, and is also talked about by the episode. And I think those are said really well. And then at the end, Aaron ultimately reacts well after Kelsey says she doesn't like it. Yeah,
which is super well. And so does JP. Like, they're already in a committed relationship, but it's nice to see across the board, like rejecting someone romantically and rejecting someone that you do like, even if like you just have a reason, like being tired. Like, those are both equally valid situations to say no in.
Yeah, also just saying no. Yeah, that's another just general message. Yeah. But no, I think a lot of people need to see this episode. I've seen people still kind of not getting it. I feel like people are primarily reacting to, oh, Aaron was ultimately such a nice guy. Like, no, the point is what he did was wrong in the beginning. Yes, he was ultimately still good, but you shouldn't do what he did in the beginning. I feel like you get that you should get that if you watch the episode.
I do think, like, one detail that kind of stuck out to me is, like, when Kelsey was trying to explain to him, like, why she doesn't like him, and she talks about, like, how she's like, well, I tried to give you a clue that, like, maybe I wasn't comfortable and you didn't pick up on it. I feel like that's really interesting because that does imply, like, maybe that's why JP also didn't realize that Kelsey was initially uncomfortable. It's like, if you're used to this kind of dynamic going in your favor and it happens to normally be a gendered thing, you're less likely to pick up on maybe more subtle cues that somebody in the opposite side of that situation, like maybe Mamie has been, and Kelsey certainly is in this moment, or more likely to pick up on and like reach out and talk about. But if you explain it to the people who are more ambivalent, they will probably be more likely to pick up on that stuff in the future and be more kind of open and careful about how they go about expressing their interest in you too. So it's like, it's helping everyone be on the same page and is less about like being like, oh, like you're bad. It's just like, this dynamic sucks and we can all be better about it. And like, here's why, which is like really productive for like everyone involved, I would say.
Yeah. I think so. I think that episode's really good. Great at conveying what it wants to convey, and also just a ton of other awesome stuff in that episode. Yeah, I think that's gonna stand out looking back. And in terms of Craig's earnestness and specifically in its progressive messaging, but also I do think it's just an earnest show in general. Like, it doesn't have these cynical endings that a lot of other shows had. But I mean, these episodes are chock full of kind of just this progressive representation that's not like it's not like the thing where it's like, oh, it has to naturally come from the plot, like
right.
And, like I think like Raj and Sean like are tied to the main plot of the show, which is really fun that we get like the gayest couple, like I got the witches, it's a close call, but like as part of
screen time,
Raj and Sean have had more screen time recently,
so maybe it's equal in terms of gayness.
I give the nod to the witches. They deserve it.
Look, Raj and Sean deserve it too. They all deserve it.
It's like more slow burny, but that's also why I'm kind of like more transfixed by it. Plus, Raj the best eyelashes, so like I understand.
Raj kind of stole that episode with his singing and everything, and
he's good though. That was a good song.
Yeah, and he sings his song, including the lyric, "There are two little boys looking for freedom and love," and then they look at each other lovingly.
Yeah. It's so sweet.
That was shockingly explicit, like for like I mean that witch's kiss. So like we've broken the Rebecca Sugar wedding barrier with the show already, right? But so but you still think it's still not going to be like automatic for all these things then, and Raj and Sean aren't like the couple you'd expect to kiss. I feel like they're like they're kids and they're
younger. That might be part of it too. I don't know, but they certainly are together. I remember when Maya comes into that speakeasy, like Raj like rushes to clutch Sean like for emotional support, which says a lot too. So I mean. Maybe it's
the whole episode. They're all on top of it. And in the beginning, when they're like, "We came," they're like clutching each other. Yeah,
so good.
I really like them. Like, I really hope the show keeps doing Raj and Sean episodes. I think this is not anywhere else in shows we cover. Like, just this type of male couple. It's incredible.
That's true.
Yeah. We talked about the witch's kiss in the Dollhouse episode. Maybe short, but just like on screen. Yeah. We talked about in the representation podcast, but still not a lot of those types of things on on kids TV. So that was
always nice to
incredible
get
see.
a undeniable confirmation. That's always a really nice feeling to see. So yeah, it was so chill. It's just like two teenagers taking advantage of like pitch blackness to make out. Like relatable. I love it.
Yeah, and what opens, when will we see the witches again? What will we could just have a date episode? I mean, honestly, all their episodes are like date episodes,
yeah.
but like
But they work together ish.
we kind of it's like really they wouldn't, their version of a date is like a seance, right? So that kind of, I don't know. I feel like we've seen it. That was awesome to see. Then we have Creek Daycare. We haven't talked a lot about. We meet character Angel, who JP I believe uses they them pronouns for. At some point. I'm not sure if other characters do, but at least we had one instance. Angel, based on real life Craig storyboarder Angel Lorenzana, who is agender on goes by that on their Twitter profile, and friend of the podcast and listens to the podcast and said nice things. So we love him. I was very excited to see. I was very excited to see Angel in Creek Daycare. I think that was really good. That was a pretty fun character. That was like a lighter type of Craig episode, but I thought that was like one of the better lighter. I mean, all very episodes light, but
I believe also that they
Jessica was such a big part of it. Jessica's such a fun character.
Big Jessica episode,
yeah.
I just wanted to mention also, I think they hand over a form at some point, and among the things they have to fill out is pronouns.
Yeah, they do say pronouns. Yeah,
that too. I was like, yes.
We got a lot of Simon Says talk in this episode. Anyone have Simon Says nostalgia?
Oh, really, I did not like Simon Says.
It feels like an annoying game.
I don't remember doing Simon Says. What was the kid? The two kid. Little
Chris,
something.
Okay.
Little Chris.
Can we talk about Little Chris? He scares the crap out of me. But like, I also like relate to the fact that sometimes like a kid will just single you out, like a really small kid, and because they're small, they think they can just like beat the crap out of you because you're not allowed to hurt a little kid, and that is a scary, like ambivalent situation to be in. And I was hurting for JP on the inside because I too have gone to like family reunions and little kids try to beat up on me, and it's like, kid, why? What is it about me that makes you want to fight me? Like, just go away. So that little Chris. I do think it's hilarious that little Chris like loves Angel though and got them a flower, and Angel thinks that little Chris is like the sweetest kid in the world, and JP was like, what? JP doesn't trust little Chris. It's amazing. I did not expect to have so much fascination with that dynamic, but it was really good. Kadisha was also super cute it was such a little kid moment when Kelsey was like trying to read her book. And the little Kadisha just like starts like talking like babbling child nonsense, and then kind of forgets what she's saying. And Kelsey's like, okay, I'm gonna just keep reading now.
God, I've been there. You're like trying to follow what a kid is saying.
But it's so cute. Like it felt very relatable.
Michelle's pulling these kids' names out of thin air. Like, how many times did you have to watch this episode?
I didn't have the credit, so I could remember. I mean, look, Chris says all the time. But
do you have that in front of you, or was it for something else?
I just have for him, yeah. Khadijah,
okay. Thank you.
Sick Kid. I don't remember Sick Kid, and then Nathan. I think Nathan was in that fell asleep all the time, or maybe that was someone else.
No, someone else. I think Little Chris is the one that ultimately stood out to me. A lot of funny Little Chris jokes in there.
Oh, Little Chris.
But yeah, great Jessica episode. Great introduction of Angel, presumably a character we'll see again. And
although the end of the episode is "Don't come back here again," so
he's not going to take care. Like he did not do a good job.
Yeah, well, yeah, we see them interact with outside of the Creek settings in different places. I feel like, so I guess like overall being like ton of progressive representation of a variety of types in all of these episodes, and love seeing that from Craig, and hoping this continues. Like, and Craig's always been like this, and this is like even more so.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we haven't talked much about Sleepover at JP's, but I think that was a fun episode, and love meeting JP's mom for the first time.
Well, and that follows in with the earnestness discussion, right? Like JP being a bit insecure about wanting to introduce them to his mom, and eventually like exploding, and like that all felt very real. And again, like what's important, the big piece of this is how Craig and Kelsey react, which is with empathy, and like that's like it feels so good to like see them be like, well, yeah, I get why you'd feel that way, but don't worry, like we're here for you. Like, God, I wish we're always like that, but yeah, just like seeing it develop the way it does is just very sweet. And again, like it hits home, like family is important to all of these characters, and it's important to the show. So it's nice that it gets treated that way.
Yeah, I love seeing how much JP loved his mom. It was really sweet in the fact that like he probably stays up a few times. Like he even woke his sister up. They seem to have an agreement. It's like, all right, like I'll wake you up when mom comes home, so like we can both see her before she has to go to work in the morning. And the fact that like she's an airline pilot and has weird hours, and she's a single mom, but like it's fine and normal. And some people do have jobs that are weird hours of the day. And they make it work, and they still get to see their family. And she has that little, like, kind of routine with JP where whenever she flies somewhere, she brings him back a magnet from that state, which is super cute. And it's like a nice little thing that they both share that's, like, special to their mom and son relationship.
Yeah, that was definitely my favorite part of this. Also, this shouldn't be progressive, but the fact that the fact that his mom was a pilot, like versus a flight attendant, felt like really big. Honestly,
I hadn't even thought about that.
No, I thought about it. I was like, oh my god, she flies planes, because like I've maybe had 2 female pilots fly my planes in my entire life. So
do you always know who's flying your plane?
Yeah, because they'll tell you. They
come on the way. Yeah,
like, good morning, I'm blah blah blah, and today we're going to this city. And they'll tell you when there's turbulence. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. There's headphones on sometimes, miss that. That was great at the end of the episode. JP loves SNL. That was random.
That was cute. They have a cat named Goo, which is also very cute.
Yeah, we knew that. Also, remember JP's sister has a girlfriend, so.
Yeah, she does.
Yeah. When we'll get a follow-up on the family at some point. But yeah, just JP's that episode, like again, that's like a quieter, I guess, Craig or something that feels it doesn't feature like these fave side characters or something, but like, and then at the end, JP's mom, and like it's such a good end to the episode. Like that ultimately ends up being a great episode.
Like it does. Like we talked a lot about like the spooky tonal shifts when it's like an action or like a sci-fi episode, but like this one, the tone shifts at the end. For the last, like, I'd say, like, minute and a half or so, when she's home, they're all eating around the table, and you hear, like, the TV on in the background. And it's just, like, this very, like, comfy, nice, quiet, chill vibe moment. It's so good at that, though, and it really, like, leaves an impression in your heart. Like, not in a cheesy way. Like, that's legitimately how it feels, which is why it's one of my top 3. Like, this one, and then Cardboard, and probably Kids Table are my top 3. Because they're so good.
Speaking of cheesy, can I mention a personal connection I have to this episode is that JP makes macaroni and cheese with cut up hot dog over it. That's pretty much my quarantine lunch, like at least once a week, is cooking up pasta and just cutting up hot dog over it. Yeah. It's a very simple meal. It fills, and even a kid like JP can make it, So I use mayo instead of cheese personally, but I mean,
don't get that discussion started.
That's horrifying.
I thought you were going to be like, I have such nostalgia for the mac and cheese. Yeah, no, it's Alex's current meals. Okay.
Yeah, that is what I make because I am a very basic cook.
Alex, but when are you going to have weenies in the nude and truly do the JP recipe proud?
Does he cook in the nude?
No, he eats all the cheese, so it's not mac and cheese. It's just like nude noodles with hot dogs on it. So it's weenies.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't eat pasta without something on it, like some sauce.
Okay. Sleepover. Boris was really good in Sleepover and JP's too. Yeah, we shockingly see the scouts, still not prominently in everything. Also, I think in Tea Timers, well, Toman and Liza, the hot new ship.
Yeah, the hottest.
Well,
Although she seemed annoyed at the end.
Yeah,
with
it crashed and burned within the span of the episode.
Oh man,
it felt like
AKAs. You gotta put it down, man.
Yeah, but it felt like, oh, this is the cool kid ship. Like it really did. Even though I don't know, it was
the cool kid ship.
Yeah, it was like this is the cool kids couple. I love how the episode handled that. And Michelle, any thoughts on Maya? I don't know. Haven't talked a lot about her.
Maya, she's just so cool. Her voice is so cool, and she's. I mean, I can't swear, but she's very. What is another word that just encompasses?
Is that what you're saying?
I want to say amazing in a cool way. Doesn't sound.
Yeah, she is amazing.
But she is that. I mean. I feel like with Maya too, it's like we know her as this very menacing person, but obviously, like, I don't know, like, I'm not afraid of her. I'm impressed by her, you know, kind of the way, like, I'm impressed by Wildernessa and I'm impressed by Handlebar, like, to a lesser extent, because Handlebar's
you're pulling these characters out. We didn't see them.
She's pretty approachable, but Maya, I mean, like, she's such a good swordsmith, and, like, her outfit is so cool. Like, she looks like somebody you'd want to role play in, like, a game, you know? Like, and that's her whole aesthetic. Like, how could that not be appealing?
Are Maya and Green Poncho related?
I did see a Reddit thread on that.
There's got to be something, because I don't think he'd send like a thing that says sup if they didn't. I don't know. It just feels like he was trying to make just him. So I got the sense that they're trying to imply some kind of previous connection. So yeah, I wasn't sure what was going on there, but.
Yeah, I mean, in general, Green Poncho could be from. I don't remember. Is he definitely from the other side? Like, so he could have just known her. Yeah, but
all we know is that he guards the bridge, but and he knew about the other side.
Yeah, so he has some sort of connection.
So he knows something. Yeah.
Yeah, Green Poncho is also very good in that episode.
Green Poncho is so good.
He's always good. And yeah, that fight scene. Also, like, I feel like Kelsey in multiple of these episodes is like steps up as the warrior just casually, and it's just fun to see. Like, she just like goes for fighting people. I think that also happened in the cardboard episode. Just like, it's all over the place now. You mentioned Thanksgiving episode. We haven't talked a lot about, but that episode's really great.
It's so good. It's so good. It's like Alex was saying a while ago. Like, the family dynamics of the show are one of its strengths.
I think that's the best family dynamics episode. The Thanksgiving episode. It's real good.
It's definitely like, I feel like Craig's family is the most prominent, so it's like the most meaty.
Well, the best Craig's family episode.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Well, and also like there's a lot of like side conversations you get to see between the uncles and aunts, so the dads bickering and the grandparents like trying to handle awkward situations. Like on top of like dealing with the kids, like the little interactions they give the parents as well just felt very real in that sense. So that was a good bonus.
Nice.
I love the uncle and the aunt. They're so funny, but they also feel like, yeah, like that's what an uncle would say. That's how an aunt would be. And like even the college student being like, oh yeah, I came to wash my laundry and my party was canceled. Oh, I just wanted to spend time with family. It's really good. And I love a Bernard episode, and this did really feel like he was growing into his own as a young adult. Proud of him. I know he wants to be a young adult very badly, so it's a big deal to him to get us to the adults table.
I was thinking that's what these most recent 4 episodes are missing is Bernard.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. And you mentioned Wildernessa. I really want to see Wildernessa and Kelsey again. That's one of our other potential couples.
I mean, hopefully, yeah.
Yeah. I'm also like, oh, is this who's coming up based on what Michelle remembers, or does she just have a really good memory? I don't know. We'll find out.
I don't know. We'll never know.
We'll find out. We'll know eventually. We'll know soon, hopefully. Okay. Okay. Michelle, any final comments?
I'm just really glad Craig's back. I really like Craig. And now, if only we could get Craig and summer camp at the same time, I would be.
That'd be the best slice of life. Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
That's the comfy day watching Craig and summer
camp.
Yeah. Presumably we'll get summer camp over the summer. That's usually what they're doing.
I don't know. I know
HBO Max is launching, so that means it's going on HBO Max.
HBO Max announced they were dropping officially on May 27th. Today they announced
but
that.
They didn't mention summer camp though in the announcement. Yeah.
But definitely going on.
Yeah, they said it's going on. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think Julia announced that. Yeah.
Mhm.
Alex, final thoughts.
Maney is cool. Give us more Maney.
Oh man, JP's like I love seeing JP with his mom and his sister, and with Min. He's just like such a sweet boy. I love JP.
I thought Craig was the sweet boy.
Craig. No,
show.
I will say one thing I love that I don't realize when this like happened canonically, but people are referring to Craig in universe as Craigie boy, and
it happens in the song.
He calls himself that in the show now, and I think it's the most charming, wonderful thing. It's so good, Craig boy. You know your boy Craigie likes choco rolls. It's just so good.
Yeah, I don't know. I was like, oh, that happened in the song. When did this become a real? I mean, it's like a canon thing. When did this become such a big thing that it's like
I have no idea. Jessica says it too. She's like, no way, Craigie boy. And it's just, I like it. It's a good tagline.
It's a good tagline.
Well, I have another final thought. It's good at the end of Tea Timer's Ball that we're sticking it to the rich yacht kid.
That was a very fun
current society of being against billionaires. I think that this was a very prescient episode.
Sailor Boy is the billionaire of the creek.
Yes, I mean, I feel like that group, the Tea Timers, was like the fancy people, but maybe he was the most fancy.
Maybe, yeah. The twist of Liza's not not gonna get revenge on Craig, just revenge on someone else. That was very funny.
Yeah, exactly. She's she's petty enough for it. He's just not the
top. We don't doubt her pettiness. Yeah, it was good. Okay, yeah, I think we covered it. Very happy to have had a discussion on Craig and have Craig back. Hopefully more episodes to come. I think if we do get a bunch of episodes, no guarantee like the next specific chunk we do a podcast, we can just see. In theory, the format means when something and when an overall topic comes up to discuss, we'd talk about. But also, I think we'll be eager to discuss Craig, hopefully. So, subscribe to not miss whatever comes next with our Craig podcast at overlyanimated.com. Talk about us on our Discord at overlyanimated.com/Discord. Support us via Patreon at patreon.com/overlyanimated. Thanks to our current patrons, especially our patron podcast, Sam, aka Suitcase Sam, and thanks as always to our patron executive producers, Ryan, Steve, Alex, Beatrice, you, Michael, and Needle. Check out at overlyanimated.com. We also have Steven Universe, continue Steven Universe finale coverage, continue Miraculous Ladybug podcast, and some other stuff coming up too. I guess the She-Ra finale, since I mentioned Katra. Dora. So,
we're gonna talk about the gospel show. I've already forgotten the name. The Midnight Gospel. We're gonna talk about that.
We'll see. I've not watched it. We'll see.
I feel like we should.
Okay. Very similar.
JP would really love Midnight Gospel. It comes on right after.
Are you already? Is it because of Saturday Night Live or like?
Yeah, it just feels like the thing you'd air. At
I thought you were like JP's a future stoner, Alex. I thought that's what.
Oh, that's actually also possible. We could look into that. JP is just really into experiment.
Yeah, this is a young stoner kid, right? Like this. Okay.
He really wants to get into Eastern philosophy, man.
Okay. Well, yeah. That'll be our next main topic. Good JP show. Okay. Did I do Patreon? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks for listening, guys. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.